Hello friends, Jim Hale with you here, and we have to report another egregious case of blatant Christian discrimination. This story coming to us from California, and that's where we're going to go right now, to San Diego with Thomas More attorney Paul Jonna. Paul, thank you so much for being with us today. If you could just describe the story of Nelli Parisenkova for us, this woman who worked at Bright Horizons, the child daycare center, one of the largest in the country. And tell us what happened to this woman, Paul.
Thanks for having me, Jim. Sure. So as you alluded, Bright Horizons, I think, has 700 locations in the U.S., one of the largest child care providers in the country. And Nelly had been working there for 4 years, excellent employee, wonderful human being, very caring, loving person, happens to be a devout Christian, and noticed early on in her employment that there were some books that the children that she was responsible for taking care of, there was books there that they'd sometimes ask her to read that promoted the LGBT ideology and agenda, including books called Mom, Mommy and Me, Dad, Daddy and Me, which are basically books trying to indoctrinate young kids about, same-sex marriage and why it's a great thing. And, basically, again, these are kids between the ages of 1 to 5. So obviously, as a devout Christian, the last thing in the world she'd want to do is teach these little kids about something she finds morally reprehensible. And so she asked her supervisor if she could just distract the kids and read them different books. And that was going fine for a number of years. Her supervisor at the time said that would be just fine. And the little kids had no idea what books they were reaching for on the shelf. They just wanted the daycare lady to read them a book. So she would easily distract them and read a different book. But recently, earlier this year, the situation occurred again. And, it was a hot day. The children were all inside. There were only 12 books on the shelf, and 5 of the books were books that were in some way promoting the LGBT lifestyle. So she said, why don't we just take those books off the shelf today, if that's okay? And her supervisor said that'd be fine. And then the supervisor decided to let the supervisor above her know about that. And that lady is a lady named Katie Callis, who's a lesbian and who found that to be a problem. So she immediately called Nelly into her office and basically treated her like a criminal, ultimately told her to leave the facility. She wasn't welcome there if she couldn't celebrate diversity, never asked her to explain her position, and treated her like a criminal and left her in the scorching heat.
Paul, what kind of impact has this had on Nelly?
Oh, she's devastated. I mean, she loved her job. She loved taking care of the children. It was a source of income for her family. She would not violate her faith. She asked for a very reasonable accommodation. All she said was, there were 2 options she gave them, and they were both very reasonable. One was, why don't we continue doing what I was doing the last several years, which is I could easily just, when I'm on shift, I don't have to read those books. And then the other option was, why can't another lady that's working there or another employee read the books instead of me? But no, they want the devout Christian to read the books. They want Nelly to read the books. It's not sufficient if someone else is available. And they didn't even engage in any interactive process with her, any attempt to offer some kind of accommodation. It was devastating for her, and it really. I'm proud of her though for being brave enough to fight back and to stand up for the truth I think she has very serious claims, religious discrimination claims, wrongful termination claims. And so we're honored to represent her and prosecute those claims.
Well, I was also happy to see that you're not just suing Bright Horizons, but you're going after this woman, the lesbian supervisor who treated her so horrendously.
Yeah, she treated her like a criminal. Like I said, the day that this happened, she called her in her office. She didn't want to hear anything from her, didn't want to hear her side of the story, literally told her that she said, what do you want to do, to Nelly? And Nelly said, can I think about this? And then she went on her lunch break. She came in and the supervisor decided, no, time is up. You can't think about this anymore. If you cannot celebrate diversity with us, then you're not welcome here. And they gave her a memo, terminated her employment benefits, and literally put her on the street. I mean, this is the most egregious fact pattern I've seen in a long time. These people need to be held accountable. This is by the way, this is high-level corporate policy decision. This isn't some rogue, supervisor. It seemed Bright Horizons is intent on pushing this agenda throughout all their locations at the highest levels of the organization. So they're blatantly violating the law. They need to be held accountable. And this is a case that I'm confident will probably end up going to trial. I don't see us resolving this case anytime soon. So we're looking forward to prosecuting it and forcing them into compliance with the law, because people, even in California, are not required to violate their faith to keep their job. If an accommodation can be made and it doesn't pose an undue burden to the employer, they have to accommodate people of faith, and that's the case here.
Yeah, and Paul, just imagine for 1 minute that like a Christian employee had decided to read a nativity story or a Christian story or something like that. I mean, they would be outraged about it. But this is what this really amounts to, is like, this is their religion now. And they're the ones that are forcing religion onto these innocent children.
Yeah, so there's a very big distinction in the law. Like, Nelly is not asking for permission to spread her faith.
No.
She's asking for permission not to violate her faith by literally reading things that directly contradict her faith. I mean, as people of faith, like a lot of the viewers at LifeSite, I mean, this is a very important issue. This is one of the most central issues in our faith. Imagine being forced at the expense of losing your job to read things that directly contradict your faith. That's not required in America. And so the companies like Bright Horizons are going to get away with this as long as people don't push back. So I'm grateful that Nelly has the courage to come forward, and the Thomas More Society is honored to represent her pro bono and to see this case all the way through.
Well, Paul, we're so honored to be able to get this story out there, and let's make Bright Horizons accountable for this unbelievable disgrace. It's just a disgrace in every sense. So, Paul, what is your advice to parents who have to be in that situation of either sending their kids to, this is like you're sending your child into corporate America, like you said, to a daycare center or a public school or even a private school. What do you say to parents?
That's a great point, Jim. I think one of the key benefits of this lawsuit too is bringing public awareness to this issue, because I'm not sure, I'm sure a lot of Bright Horizons customers are perfectly fine having those books read to their kids, but I guarantee you a large chunk of them have no clue what's going on there. So I think parents need to be informed, need to be aware, and obviously there's plenty of good options to choose from. But if you notice this kind of stuff happening, I mean, people in Nelly's situation that are actually have their jobs at risk should definitely take legal action, contact the Thomas More Society or other public interest law firms. But parents are, if the best advice, if you're dealing with a private entity like this, is pull your kids out and send them somewhere else. Yep. But in the case of employees, take advantage of organizations like the Thomas More Society. We can't help everybody, obviously, but we try to help as many people as we can with your guys' prayers and support.
All right. Well, Paul, what's the timeline on this case?
Well, courts are backed up these days with the closures during COVID. So I don't know when they're going to set it for trial. In San Diego, their cases are normally set for trial 12 to 18 months out. It could be a little longer. This is Los Angeles. So we're expecting the case to probably head to trial within the next year to 2 years. But we are going to take depositions. We're going to get these defendants under oath, make them answer questions, review their documents, and then have a jury in Los Angeles decide their fate, because our client was very damaged economically, emotionally, and they need to be held accountable so they don't do this to other employees, and that's the key. We want to stop this.
Well, thank you so much, Paul. I know you're a busy man. We always appreciate you taking the time to be with us. And I'll just say this right now. If you have your children in a Bright Horizons daycare center, or you know anybody that does, please share this story with them so you can know the true nature of this organization. Paul Jonna, God bless you, my man, and keep up the good work, sir.
Thank you very much. God bless you too.